everybody. This is Peters here. I want to share with you a little bit today about something that's kind of concerning me, which is building number fluency with your kiddos. And so I want to talk a little bit about that. So first of all, what is number fluency? It's a little easier to notice. In fact, it's pretty easy to notice, and it's a little harder to define. But it's a lot of it is about just kind of a sense of number and the relative size of numbers, like how much is 10, and the relationship between numbers. So, how much more is, say, 50 than 35, or even 10 than 7. It's also visual images of numbers, so being able to kind of see numbers as quantities, and we support that at school by having students, especially in the younger grades, use things like number rocks and 10 frames. It is the ability to take numbers apart and put them back together easily. And what I mean by that is the ability to think of 7 as made of 6 and 1, and 2 and 5, and 3 and 4, or bigger numbers, is composed, 15 is 5 and 10, or 9 and 6. So that's a really important component. And it's why in younger grades, you will notice that your kids were often asked to how many different ways can you make 7 or can you make 10. So that's super important. And then another one is a developing system of base 10, which as adults, we have a pretty solid understanding of that. But it's hard to put yourself in the shoes of a first, second, third grader who really is kind of building that understanding. And it's something that we can take for granted. And then, of course, one way that it's pretty easily seen is students that can have fast recall of their basic facts. It does not take them long to tell you what 8 plus 7 is. And it's not because they've memorized it. It's because they often, like with an 8 plus 7 fact, they're going to take 2 from the 7 and make it a 10 plus 5 fact. And that's where that decomposing of numbers comes in. They just, instead of working with 7, they decided to work with 8 or a 2 and 5, because then it became a 10 and 5. And I know it sounds a little crazy, but honestly, it's what kids do when they have that really strong sense of number. If they don't have that, then they are forced to memorize facts. And that's really hard. Or they're going to use really inefficient strategies. Like they're going to start with 8 and they're going to count on 7 more. And it gets really cumbersome when you get to third grade. So being able to support number fluency is really important. And I'm concerned about it because it's key. I mean, kids who have success or the greater success in math, generally, one of the telltale tools they have in their tool belt is strong number fluency. The other thing is, of course, just an interest in making sense of mathematics. I think when kids come to believe or are led to believe that math is just remembering how their teacher showed them to do something, it's boring, it's hard to remember. But if they think about math as something that they can figure out, it becomes a lot more interesting and engaging, and they're more successful. And then also just a belief in the effort, or a belief in the idea that the effort that you put in and the practice that you put in is going to make you better. You're not either good at math or not good at math. And so number fluency is so key to that. Now, if we were here at school, one of the things I really like about our math curriculum is they provide all of these fun partner activities. They're called math workplaces. And if we were in school, we would be getting time 4 to 5 times a week. We would get in little blocks of time of maybe 10 or 15 minutes to play these with cards and dice and spinners and worksheets and game boards and all kinds of things, because Bridges knows, like has been shown, is that little bit of practice over time is how kids develop that fluency. And so that's what we would be doing together, and we're not able to do that. Kids have learned and have been assigned something called digital workplaces, which were made available from Bridges under these circumstances. They're not actually designed to be used at home. They're really designed for teachers to project in the classroom to teach kids how to play it. But they're kind of a substitute, and it was really generous of them to make those available to students. And then there's another resource that they provide that I want to show you. It's called Math at Home, and I will make sure I get the link to you if I haven't already. But Math at Home provides families with a lot of things they can do related to supporting math. So if you go to the third grade site, there'll be different types of things to pick from. They've actually changed this since last year, and I haven't spent much time in it yet. I used to assign some things last year, but there's different things, and one in particular that's kind of fun is today's number. And so, for example, if it's today's number is 107, you're just going to try and come up with as many ways as you can make 107 with all four operations. And so that's just a way to get kids playing with number. I don't know everything that's in here. I spent time in it last spring and I haven't had time, but there's going to be a lot of fun things. I do know one thing that's fun that I am familiar with, which is which one doesn't belong. And so this one is fairly difficult. You can go in and play in any grade. If you want to try which one doesn't belong, I might encourage you to go to a younger grade to start to kind of get the hang of it. I wish we had more time to do things like this together. So, math at home is a way that you can support kids. Something that I'm going to add over the weekend is the opportunity for kids to use MobiMax, which some families might be familiar with. So it's kind of a distant, a remote learning platform, and I think it's okay for some things. I don't really agree with some of the ways that they teach math, and we're not using it for our core math instruction, but it is an option for supporting number fluency. So if that's something that you want your child to participate in, they will be going through Clever and they'll open MobiMax. I put a link in there. In fact, I went ahead and made my own classroom, and they'll see it in Mrs. Peters' kind of Clever classroom. So there will be a link to MobiMax. When they open it, and thank you to Caitlin for loaning me I'm looking at her screen on her page. They need to go to the icon that says Fact Fluency. And when they click on that, it's going to ask them to do a placement test. And then it's going to determine, based on how well they do, where they should be working. So that is an option. It kind of stresses kids out because it feels a little bit about speed. Some kids just love it. I don't think it's great to do all the time, but it is another option. So we have math workplaces, the digital workplaces that are in our classroom. We'll have the Math at Home site, which is really good. We have MobiMax, but then I want to also share with you, I think, playing games at home, especially at this time when we're on computers a lot. Um, any games that you can play that involve numbers, whether it's with dominoes or some type of playing card or with dice, is going to support your child's number fluency. Of course, some games like you'll know are better than others. And then there also are some trade games that involve numbers and quantity that are also just excellent for supporting number sense. I'm giving you a few options here. There are many more. So I see 10, the one on the left there is actually probably for younger kids, but if you have some younger kids or you feel like your child really needs support, this is all about combinations for 10, which seems like kind of a first or second grade skill, but it's so applicable as we start adding multi-digit numbers. So knowing your combinations for 10, and it's a fun game. Um, Super Genius is something that's really cool. They're just decks of cards and they have addition and subtraction. All of my students could benefit from the addition cards. As we get more into multiplication, more of them will be able to benefit from these. I don't think they're super expensive. And then I realized that you can actually get Super Genius decks for some literacy ideas. I don't know anything about those. But the Super Genius cards, I think, for several reasons, are really a fun game. Clumsy Thief is fun. We played that in math club at Glenwood. Moneybags is about teaching money. There are a couple of other Clumsy Thief games available I don't know much about. The Junior or the Candy Shop. I only know about kind of the main one. So with that, again, I just want to encourage you to make sure that your kids are getting some kind of opportunity to play with numbers most days of the week. And they won't be getting, it's just difficult for me to make sure I'm getting that assigned to them every day. So play games, talk positively about math. It's a big cultural challenge in the US because there seems to be a sense that only some people can do well at math, and also a sense that if your parents weren't good at math or didn't feel comfortable, then certainly you can't either, which is a really dangerous thing for a kid to believe. And just, find ways to talk about numbers in your daily life. And so those are ways that I always encourage families to support their kids in math. So thanks for listening, and let me know if you have any questions at all. Thanks. Bye bye.